Hey everybody, so welcome to the In Layman Terms podcast. No fluff, just facts. I have an amazing guest today, Jasmine Ramirez. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, first let's start with, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Oh, wow. Okay, let's go right into it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, my name is Jasmine Ramirez. I'm the co-founder of Agents Growth Circle. I am a devoted Christian, a mother of 3 wonderful children, and I'm all about living life purposely and passionately.
Good. Yeah. And you're also like a mother to like 100 agents.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's a lot of diaper work. Okay, so we met several years ago. We'll leave that part out for now. And so you're an agent. You also train agents, teach agents. How did that start?
So the training part started when I saw the clients. So I started in real estate as an ISA. I'll take you all the way back so we can just go from there.
Well, okay, you know what? Then let's go all the way back to where did it start?
There we go. I'll tell you where it started. So it started back as an ISA. 2012, I lived in Nicaragua. Was living out there for different circumstances. My husband at the time needed to be over there.
Okay.
And we had tons of money saved and lived a great retired life at 30. But I was bored out of my mind.
Yeah.
And I needed to do something that will still be attuned with American culture or something that I knew. And my background has always been customer service, client services, business management. It's just something that as a child, when my dad had a business, I was just always paying attention to those things. Yeah. So when I was in Nicaragua, I found out that there was major call centers out there that companies would contract. T-Mobile, Chase, and a lot of people spoke English. In fact, you know, when you look at in the United States, people are kind of like searching what career they take. In Nicaragua, if you learn English, you're good to go.
You're good.
Yes, you can make more money than doctors, lawyers, and all that. So I started as an ISA, and an ISA is an inside sales assistant. I collaborated with someone that was retired living in Nicaragua, and he had the call center. But this call center was unique. It was small. It wasn't like the bigger call centers, and it was focused on real estate. So he already had a book of business of realtors that were hiring callers or admin assists, much like they do with Philippines and things of that sort. So I was very interested because I love client services. I love making sure things are done correctly. It's just in my passion, that hospitality. So I learned what to do as an ISA, but the training wasn't all there, and the call center was a bit dysfunctional. So at the time I got pregnant with my son Ethan. Okay. And there was even smoking cigarettes going on. You know, we're in a third world country, Nicaragua.
It's different.
People
don't realize that, right? They only know the resorts on the beach.
Exactly.
Great surfing schools down there.
There are some on the Sud, you know, great beaches for surfing. So I learned how to make the calls for the realtors. I learned what is needed to grow the business. I got a very great client. His name is Saw Zinkovich. He's called Z Team out in Elmhurst, Illinois. Okay. And that's where real estate really took off for me, when I had him as my first client. So because I was pregnant, I did not want to be in that environment. So I made an agreement with the owner of the call center. I'll do the work, but I'm going to do it from home. So I got about 7 months pregnant, and I had to travel back to the United States because I'm not having my son in Nicaragua.
Yeah, absolutely.
And while I was there in the hospital, I had high blood pressure. I was alone out here in the sense I didn't have my husband or my daughters. I had 2 daughters at the time. And I had my brother, my sister, you know, family that was there for me, but it just wasn't the same. Right. I felt alone. I had to stay in the hospital for a month because of my high blood pressure. Right. And that's where I decided, I'm not going to go back to Nicaragua to work for someone else. I realized that I was in the hospital with my laptop, making sure that Saw's business was working. And it's just how passionate I am about the partnerships I have. Right. And I told Saw at the time, I said, when I go back to Nicaragua, I'm not going to be working at that call center anymore. You have a choice. You can find someone else. And he's like, absolutely not. You're going to be the one.
Okay.
What do I need to do to keep you? I said, well, I don't like to burn bridges.
Right.
So let's have a conversation with the gentleman at the time, which he passed away. Let's have a conversation with him and see what it needs to happen. He paid a contract, like to break the contract. And that's where my career took off, because this guy invested in me with training and development. He flew me after I had my son. I went back to Nicaragua and I just worked for him. Then he would fly me to Tony Robbins, Mike Ferry seminars. And that's when my eyes really started opening to all the possibilities that real estate had.
Right.
I was in Nicaragua learning about real estate when in the United States I knew nothing about it. So the discipline was created, the understanding to the endless opportunities was awoken in me. And Saul and I had a very successful partnership, because after 6 months of working with him, I was already managing his listing agents, his buyer agents, his executive assistant, his database. And I was like, I'm wearing too many hats. Which happens
All the
now
time.
in the real estate industry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's where things like just really took off. I told him at the time, I said, we can do this. Either I can hire a couple of assistants to leverage the small, minute details that are not making us money.
Right.
And I can focus on the sales aspect of the business. And that's what we did. I started with 2 callers at the time, admin assistants. I converted my bedroom to the brand new house that we built in Nicaragua to live. After I wanted all these special details in my room that I requested from my husband at the time. I was like, yeah, we got to do away with all this, because now I got to make this, an office space. And that's how I started, Tom, with 2. And then within a year, I had 15, 30, and I just continued to leverage. My call center, after 10 years of operating it, I got to a point where I had over 55 ISAs, and I had about 100 realtor clients nationwide from all different states. And I'm talking about top producers, because Saul was the connecting point. He was a top producer.
Right.
He was doing 40 REO transactions on a monthly basis. Back when, after the crash, the banks were hot, he was doing cash for keys. So at that point, when he would take me to the seminars, he was introducing me to other top producers. And that's really where my career took off. So I told Saul, I said, after a year of working with him, I said, we've got a great thing going, but I'm limited with only your business. There's other people that need this. And there are people that you work with, that you collaborate with. So why don't we go into partnership? You bring me the clients, I manage them, and we can split the profits. And that's where my call center took off.
Nice. I think that people don't understand leveraging. Who Not How is a great book on that, because even my assistants have assistants. Because once they've been here a year, 2, 5, okay, their skill set is way different than in the beginning, and therefore what they can handle has grown. So now it's time to offload the lesser producing tasks to somebody else. We just brought on an assistant from the Philippines, but we do all the PI testing. So she's been here a few weeks, and I gave her a really hard task the other day. I gave her all these loan documents, and they're really, they're private loans, but they're multiple IRAs are the lenders, and I said, we need extensions and addendum, so here. She did it perfect. It's a hard task because of all the different stuff. The only mistake, not on her part, was that the IRA company wanted the wording changed because how they want it changed from when we did the original loan documents. But it showed me after less than a month how precise this person is, because she's my personal admin every day. And you can imagine me, I'm hopping all over the place. And so so she works, now I'm not her direct report either. She doesn't report to me. She reports to Jeannie, who's my executive assistant. I have no reports. I don't want to do any of that. But leveraging always assistants for assistants. And now we're going to add in, AI automation. Look, I had all the assistants and my broker partner, Jen, on a call this morning, because we're going to bring in the IT company. And there's so many things that we're going to automate now. as we go into next year.
Absolutely.
You know, because
automation is the key nowadays, especially with all the advanced technology. It's like people are still doing business outdated. What I say, if you have to do something more than once in your business, then you need to make it duplicatable for the next person that's going to step in. And I learned that the hard way.
Me too. You know, a few years ago, on one of my masterminds, they talked about Loom and these other platforms, and I thought they were saying Vroom, first of all. I'm like, why give me a car platform? But
yeah, Loom is cool because you can screen record and talk to it.
So everything that I need to show an assistant or anybody else, there's a recording of it. But one topic only, 3 minutes or less. And then we use Trainual, and there's folders for everything. And so I never have to teach it again because, oh, here it is. Everyone has access to it. And then later on, if somebody comes and says, I need a little more detail and depth in this. You know, we do another video. And then that gets uploaded into a subfolder of the same item.
Exactly.
Now, ask me how all that looks and gets kept. Not a clue.
No idea.
But
you know that if you need it or you need to point someone to it, Jen can get them there because you've created a system.
Shelly. So Shelly was my second virtual assistant hire ever. She now runs, she's my operations secretary now.
I love that. I love to hear when someone grows within the company and now is managing others, because who better to teach them than someone that's already walked the path.
This is how we do business. And so she started out, she was handling texting for me. And then we went from being me on a phone and texting 6-7 years ago to within 18 months of starting in real estate, we had 14 people calling and texting every day. Shelly was the VA manager, and then there was an acquisitions manager. And so she managed 14 callers and textures every day, all the systems, all the processes, all the uploads. And then when we pivoted into what we do now, she was doing some other stuff in the company. Then the operations secretary, we had to part ways. There was a definite disconnect in how I want business done, okay? And then so Shelly stepped into this role, which I thought would be part-time until I found somebody.
Little did you know.
Little did I know that there's a book called The 6 Types of Working Genius.
Yes.
So her working genius is spreadsheets, accounting, bookkeeping, not the other stuff. And
by the way, that's my next book to read. Thank you so much for sending me that book. I took it to Colorado when I went on vacation, but my kids had other plans of keeping me busy skiing on the mountains.
Well, no skiing, but, you know, I read in the morning first thing if I don't get later on, you know?
No, I'm excited to read the book, finish it, and then have a conversation with you because it intrigues me how you don't miss a beat and your team is just as relentless as you. And it's something that's admirable. You know, I admire it, I respect it, and I want to learn from it. Because
that's why I gave you a book.
Yeah, that's why I need to read it. And I will.
There's a test you give your people after that.
Okay.
And so he categorized 6, that's why it's called the 6 types. If you keep people working in 1 and 2, that's something they love to do. If they're in 4, 5, and 6, they burn out.
Yes.
So,
right.
But so now go back, this is 23. My wife and I are missing a little over $100,000 in cash in projects. The operations secretary before didn't detail it enough. I'm like, I got to tell my wife I can't find money.
Oh boy,
so it's a lot of money.
Not a nice conversation to have.
8 days, so I'm on vacation with the family, and we were in LJ, Georgia. So to get to the Starbucks, which was only like 10 minutes across the river, it was almost a 40-minute drive up this crazy mountain and out. So 8 days later, I'm meeting with Shelly because she's just taking this over. And she tells me the exact amount she doesn't have receipts for in projects. Wow. That's the money I'm missing. $101,000, and it was like 11 cents.
Wow, right there.
But she didn't know that. But she found it in all the sheets. So now Shelly has a daughter. Father not really in the picture. Always short money. So every quarter, she always had to borrow money for school. So it used to, I think it's like $3,000 a quarter because she goes to a Christian private school over there in Manila. And she always paid it back with overtime. So at this point, she owed me almost $4,000 for things. And I told her, you don't owe me money anymore.
Because she found them.
So now we gave her a raise, obviously, but now part of her pay structure is the money for her daughter's school.
Wow.
Okay.
That's beautiful.
And she breaks down crying, right? And but that's what you're supposed to do.
It's unexpected, especially, those that live in other countries. I had to fire a couple of realtor clients when I had the call center because they thought that they could speak to my staff a certain way.
Absolutely.
And I was like, no, human first. I believe in the people first before the profit.
But it doesn't matter where they are.
Doesn't matter where you are.
But that shows you how that person is, right?
Exactly.
I had an executive assistant years ago, and I always had several of them. So we're on a call. Shelly's there with a few of the other admins out there, and this executive assistant says, well, they're only VAs. Fired her right there in the meeting.
Good.
Right there in the meeting. It was bad for me to fire her, but it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because now everyone knows the tone. This is how it happens here.
That's right.
When we just had
zero tolerance.
Zero for that kind of crap for sure. But we just had a culture day, October. We went to Orlando Tree Trek, all of us in the trees. So think about that. It was fun. It was fun. But I can't bring them there, right? So what I did was, so then they watched The Office that day.
Okay.
But based on their amount of time here, people under 6 months and over 6 months. Over 6 months, they got a full day's pay whenever they wanted it, cash for that week instead, or banked it. Under 6 months, it's half day.
Okay, that's fair.
But they got almost the same as everybody else, okay? Because there's no difference to me.
Yeah.
Just like I gave you books, we read books in the company. I give it to them as well. Now, I don't ship them the book. It's Audible for them. It's easier. But there's no difference to me. When we have there's an executive conference room here in the studio area. We do our quarterly meetings with the consultants. At some time of the day, all the assistants are in. Some of them are there all day. And it shows you the strength of them because it costs me $40,000 a year for these consultants. To be there all day, to get poured into like that.
Right.
It says a lot for what they're able to do.
Absolutely. I think a lot of times leaders, those that are passionate about empowering, we have a unique gift that we get to tap into someone else's gifts. And that's a blessing. Where there's others that, they're afraid to invest too much in their people.
Scarcity thinking.
Scarcity mindset. And
I'm training my competition, they say.
Yes, I don't want to train them too much, or I don't want them to know too much because then they might take over. Well, I don't look at it like that. I never have, never will.
Me either.
I account for about 8 mini call centers in Nicaragua from mostly the first 2 batches of teams that I worked with, and then they went on to grow their own teams. Some of them are working with top producers still to this day. I don't see a dollar from what they're doing. But I know that I had something to do with that.
Absolutely.
And not from an egotistic standpoint, but it's just like it feels good to know that I set them up with some tools that were able to provide for their family and build their own business. And I think that's so special to be able to do that with other people.
But that's a different mindset. So look, even right here in Central Florida, I train people to do exactly what I do in my backyard. In my backyard.
Right.
I'm not like, people say, but you're training your competition. Well, what does that mean? They're like, well, they're competing against you. So you're saying for me to win, they have to lose. I don't believe that. No. I win and lose based on our company's stuff, right?
That's right. What you do, what you put in.
Exactly.
What you put out. Like, it all depends on you. You can teach them, but nobody's going to do it like
they
you.
Don't. Even the ones I've taught, it's like, they're coming back with all the problems. It's like, but I gave you the playlist, the playbook. But I wanted to try this. Wait till you get a couple, like, dozen done and then tinker. But that's the scarcity mindset of it.
Right.
And I look at it as if I teach somebody to build affordable housing, that's me helping other people into affordable housing. And I just keep it present in my brain that way. I'm meeting with one of them to collaborate on maybe some type of partnership. I'm going to listen. I'm always going to listen.
Right.
Because, as this business grows, like people say, oh, but you're training people. I said, okay, we're going to do, so last year we did 76. It's a slower year for us because we rebuilt operations ground up. Lost a whole quarter that way. So we're at about 61, 62 projects this year right now. Okay, and that's with a quarter gone. But we had to slow down to speed up.
Right.
But we also have our first 3 deals in Texas. One of them's 9 acres. We're going to build 18 units on those 9 acres.
We're going to Texas together. I got some plans.
It's kind of cold out there, though. Let me tell you, Amarillo. But so you look at that. Maryland is getting locked up I just had the call with them. Now, we talked the structure. Now it's time to get the location and the paperwork going.
Nice.
And so since Maryland's a cold state, you can't, and you have to use slab foundations, not like in Florida. So you're not pouring until April anyway. We got the whole first quarter to get moving. And the same thing with Southern Ohio. It's Southern Ohio, Northern Kentucky, and Indiana. If you just put a big circle there, that's manufactured home country. When I go to California next week, end of this week, I'm meeting with them and my consultants because they're also members, they're also with my consultants. That's how we got introduced, but we're also in Collective Genius. And so now it's time to start putting the expectation sheet together.
At what point did you know that you were ready to take this to other states? Because when we first met a couple years ago, it was just like, I don't know, I think you had like maybe 30, 40 under your belt at that time, and
A little more than that now.
And I know, and then you said at that very first training, it's like, this time next year I'll be triple this amount, and you were more than triple this amount. So at what point did you say, okay, now it's time to take this out of
I was looking.
the backyard and out into the world?
So to answer that, I prayed about it, like I do everything else, and I've learned to just not push as hard as I once did, because sometimes you try to make things work that you're pushing so hard because it's not meant to work.
That's right.
Partnerships that were not meant to work. That's why they were so hard. And a few months ago, I was driving home. I had to help my wife do property management, which I love. Not really, but it's my wife, so I got stuck. So I'm on the road like 9 o'clock at night, driving home from.
You love to support her.
Yes, because I want to stay married. I love this one. And so my phone rang at 9 o'clock. It was a guy I used to be in boardroom with, one of the masterminds. And I've never had my phone on at 9 o'clock. But I'm out, so I answered. And he basically wanted to partner with me. He already had the license in Texas. But he wasn't able to pivot out of where he is to where I'm at.
It was a bottleneck in his business.
Sometimes we can't get out of our own way. And so we had a conversation that night. We met a couple times after that. And then he asked me, he's like, hey, why did you decide to agree and partner with me? You called. Because I'm asking for, where do you want me to go next?
Right. And boom.
And the phone rings, and here's a dealer license. So then when I was in Dallas for a Collective Genius meetup back in September, my consultant, Gary Harper, met with him first. Then gave me, because I'm only going to look at the upside. Right? He gave me some other things, and then we created a expectation sheet of things my partner needed to do, which he has done. And then that allows us to partner instead of, say, buying a license. Okay? And it just happened like that.
So important to have, I keep hearing you say expectation sheet, and anytime I'm going into any partnership of any sort, whether it's a client as if I'm consulting, or we're partnering up on another project,
Right.
we're going to have that sit down, and we're going to have a clear understanding of what your vision is. That's important, because we might not have the same vision.
Need to be written down.
Yes.
Right?
Your goals,
Yep.
your expectations, and if things go south, where are we going? What are we doing?
But that's what, so think, okay, Jen. So she's a great friend of mine, but she's also a business partner now. And we put this sheet together, the expectations on both sides. Because in the end, we want to, when this ends one day, leave as friends. That
right.
piece of paper will keep us leaving as friends. And I know for a fact, in the beginning, I wouldn't do that. Oh, I don't want to do that. Because that's an issue sometimes. And in the beginning, I would, and imagine, so, I have a personality where I just run things over sometimes, but I didn't want to touch that subject. And now it's like, no, we're going to touch that.
Yeah, get the difficult conversations out in the beginning. And just like in any relationship, if you hide those difficult conversations, then they become confusing.
Right.
And then there's blurry lines. And then with those blurry lines, it's like, well, I didn't know you wanted that, or I did this based on what I thought would be best. And it's like, if we sat down and discussed it, then we will both know that that's not where this should have headed.
Yep. And so I do this with every position in the company, whether I'm doing the hiring or not, is, conversations, interviews, here's the job, the expectations. read this, sign it before we go to the contract. Okay? And we've had people where I've interviewed and we've discussed everything on that list. But when it was put in writing, they're like, oh, I'm not doing this and this. Okay, great, thanks, bye.
And that's
Right?
why you put it in writing.
Put it in
because
writing.
the wind takes the words away.
And, that is standard in everything we do.
Yes.
Look, I do meetings, Google Meet. They're all recorded. One of my business partners reached out to me, said, hey, I got this deal. It's 150. On the recorded, the next day was 165 in the contract. And I'm like, did I really say that? Here you go.
Yep.
Right? But
AI will record it.
and it's transcribed and
Exactly.
everyone gets it. Look, one of my assistants, Lara, who's been amazing, so all my I had 5 meetings already this morning, okay, and all of those transcripts with the bullet point action items for both parties, and one of them had 5 people in it. That will be in. Well, I have a dashboard in our CRM. That's what I need to see all the time, and it goes there by date. Because then her and I work on, and Jeannie, the action items that I need to do and make sure the other people are doing theirs. Okay? And so learning how to really navigate that time issue. Okay? Because instead of me thinking, instead of me writing notes, it's all done for me. Right? But that takes a lot of time and understanding, especially when we're my age. But it's also... when I have enough data to make a decision, I make it right away. Look, we're ending the year. We're bringing in our IT guy. I'm going to meet with him tomorrow. I met with all the assistants today because the automation things. So then he just needs me to give him access to something on a like Google Meet. And then he doesn't need me anymore. All I needed from them was, okay, make a list of what you need. Let's make sure that they understand it correctly. We get the price, basically. And then once I give them access, I'm going to California. And they'll handle it when it will all be ready when I get back. But giving everybody, the power. All of them are virtual assistants but one. The power to make those kind of decisions. They all have credit cards too, by the way. Credit cards. And what we call, it's like a golden number. They have an amount that they can spend without asking permission of me.
That's huge.
They have to document it, right? Later
That's
on.
showing them that you trust them enough to make those difficult decisions. And it allows them to evolve into their own leader role where they're not being codependent and can I do this or can I do that? Can I do this? They become a part of the leadership within what is needed to continue that expansion and that growth.
That's why we once we hire, we do predictive index testing, okay? Because everybody is different, their personalities. And when I get the report, it shows me how best for me to work with them. Because, when you're dealing with somebody, it's not cookie cutter. Okay, like you've talked with Jeannie. Jeannie's really forceful. You can't make her do anything. So I do what Jeannie's different. I breadcrumb her, okay? And other people are different. So everybody has a different way of managing them.
So you study the person, the personality, and then you give them the task and responsibilities and roles that identify with their strengths and give them that chance to make those decisions to help you grow.
So
and that's where you learned, is that where you learned that you don't have to do it all? And is that what really helped you get to the scaling aspect of this?
You have to learn to sing Ready, Frozen, let it go. So I can't tell you what's going on in all the different companies. I have to trust that the people there bring things to my attention when needed and that they follow the SOPs as written.
Yes. SOPs. Gotta have those SOPs, guys.
Because, look, you either have a people problem or a process problem. 9 times out of 10, you know what it is? The people didn't follow the process. That's what it is.
We need that in a clip right there. It's either a people problem or a process problem. And 9 out of 10, the people didn't follow the process, so now it's a both.
Well, no, the process is right. You didn't follow it.
Yeah,
right?
Because
when the problem happens, we don't worry about why and how. We fix. Then later we worry about why and how.
True.
And then it's like, okay, so show me this, this, and this. And then when they can't, I'm like, oh, but this is what it says here. So then we fired a bunch of people. I'm a big believer in the phrase, who got you here may not be the ones to get you there.
Ooh.
Unfortunately, my understanding and use of accountability has grown, okay? And it was hard. The people who were here in the beginning could never follow the accountability I was adding, right? No, but this is how we did things. You're right, did, not do, right? They're, you know, those are two different words.
Yeah.
And what I've learned from this is that that phrase sticks to people. But this is how we did them. It doesn't matter how we did them. This is how we're doing them.
Right.
Okay.
There's power behind making a decision on who to let go. I remember in about, I don't know, it was before I moved to Nicaragua. I was a sales rep for Kenworth of South Florida truck dealership. I didn't know anything about parts, but I knew how to sell them. And we had a huge leakage in the business, in the part section. And it was the service, I shouldn't have said the name, whatever. It was years ago. We had a service manager that was, let's just say, adding on extra pieces to the work orders. And before the end of the year, the owner realized that he lost about $200,000 in profit from the parts and service department. So he brings someone from one of the top-rated Kenworth dealerships, hires them to come and look at the books and see what's going on.
He got an auditor to come in.
An auditor that then became the parts manager. The first day he was there, he fired 5 people. He walked in and he was literally, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired, and you're fired. No explanation. And then he said, now this, and I was part of the team that stayed. And he said, and now that you are the new foundation of this team, let me tell you what's not going to happen here. And I fired them. And, you know, afterwards I had lunch with him and I said, why did you come in blazing? Like just firing
Because he had the
people?
proof. He saw the books.
He had everything he needed to know who was the one making the errors. And he was no longer going to allow and accept that type of behavior as the new manager in charge. And he brought in a whole new staff.
The new sheriff in town.
It's easier to train new puppy dogs than it is to train old dogs.
Especially when they were doing what they were doing, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, I've had to let go people who are family. Okay?
So have I.
So, yeah, there was a young man. I mentored him. We're still in each other's lives. I got him at 14 years old. He was from the next community, in our community basically, came over. He used to clean cars and pressure wash and everything. And he found out I'm in real estate. And he got to my wife to introduce and everything. His name is Blake, 14 at the time. And so we made a deal for learning. He wanted to learn real estate for services. He's like, hey, I'll clean your cars. I'll do this. I love the fact that he was giving for getting, right? But I said, before I teach you real estate, we have to work on other things, mindset and everything else. Right. So we started doing these weekly, like, 1-hour walks and more. He went from being a low C student to a straight A student within the year.
Wow.
He graduated early, his senior year, graduated in February. And I said, hey, what do you want? I'm like, you know, he's like, I do have an ask. Okay, what is it? He said, I want a job. I said, okay, careful now,
what you ask
because
for.
It's different worlds now. And I had to explain to him. I said, so
we
have a relationship that doesn't come over here.
Right.
And I had to fire him after 18 months. Him and 2 other project managers, because when we looked at things, so when we dove into things really deep, these 3 people cost $175,000 in losses and issues the year before. Wow. And we tried to fix them with them, but they wouldn't. We put him on a performance enhancement plan. And but his problem mentally was that he thought our relationship trumped everything else. And, you know, so we're walking one day. He's 20 now, so he's 19 then. And he asked for a favor. I'm like, okay, let me hear this. A lot of favors he asked for. He wanted to rent one of my houses in our rental portfolio with him and his knucklehead friends. Absolutely not. You're 19, no way. I wouldn't let those kids in my car, let alone one in my house. Because none of them have jobs anyway. Plus, it was an hour away, and he has to come to Claremont to work, then leave.
You knew it was not going to be
It wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
And that, because I said no, he let his friends kind of gaslight it, you know, whatever. And then his work product even got worse. So then we have a different manager over him then. And I said, I want you to ask this question because he's in his performance enhancement plan time. What percentage of effort did he give this week? It never went above 70.
Wow.
And so then one week, you know what I did? I paid him 70% of his check. He said, what happened? I said, well, you told me you gave 70%. I paid you 70%. Think about all the weeks you didn't give 100, you got paid 100.
Right. You owe me some money, guy.
And so then we had another meeting one day on the performance enhancement plan. And I said, and I'm just listening most of the time. I said, I want you to give me an instance, a time where you feel you absolutely crushed it here. And he gave me a home that he cost me $10,000 on. Because when real estate, right? Not a great market either. One chance to make a good impression. My house looked like shit. His job was to make sure it didn't look like shit.
Wow.
And the agent, when she sent me the email to the realtor box, it was, my clients are going to buy this other lesser house because yours is...
appearance.
Right.
Wow.
And then she showed me pictures of my home, and I was like appalled by it. It was a Sunday afternoon. I got in my truck and I drove there. And...
reputation.
so I'm like, wait a minute. So now you're telling me that that's where you crushed it? He's like, yeah. So that's the house that you cost me 10 grand on. Okay. But I realized right then and there, he probably is not salvageable at this point. Because if he thinks he crushed that, where we lost money. And then when you look at, we have a checklist of maintenance for every house that he goes to every week. Well, those are all lies.
Wow.
He wasn't doing his job.
And they know. That's the thing. It's like, you know, people get accustomed to just doing surface work and just sliding by. I had to fire my daughter at the age of 15 from my call center because she thought she was just going to come in. Everybody else is working hard, making calls.
But
it
you're
was a
the
summer.
mom. Right.
So I even had to correct her. That's where my kids understood the line in business. She was 15, summertime. She's working at the call center. And, you know, she says something, Mom. I said, I'm not mom here. I'm Jasmine. Address me correctly. And that's when I put my first foot down. And then it was just doing basic work. Now she is responsible for managing all the agents that come through AGC, whether it's through trainings, whether it's whatever it is that we're doing to support agents. She's in charge. But she had to get to a point where she grew with personal developments and understood the lines and the boundaries. And now she also manages her sister's 5 businesses. And she's just remarkable at what she does. But it took her a couple of years. And sometimes we just got to let them go through that. You know, as much as we want to pave the way.
I don't want to pave the way.
Well, that was the misconception.
I might cut the grass a little for them, right? But that's about it. We're not paving anything.
Yes. That was the mentality that I had and a lot of people still have. They want to avoid the mistakes that, whether it's their employees or their children or the people that they care about. But no, you can plant the seed. You can give them the tools. You can give them the plan. But you have to let them figure it out for themselves so that they can learn from those mistakes.
Parenting 101 right there.
Yes, literally. And it was very difficult.
My wife and I argue about that because she will be happy if our children were 40 in their bedrooms. And you are so wrong because, so first of all, our job, raise responsible adults. And we have to build a business the same way with responsibility. And I give my children a lot of responsibility as they grow. And my philosophy behind it is I want them to make the mistakes now and let them learn from them when I'm there. Not helping unless they ask, because when it's too late when they're gone, okay? Give them really good responsibility. Like my son has grown into a at 6, he's way... I probably wasn't that responsible in my 30s.
Right?
Okay?
I say the same thing about my daughters. I'm like, if I was just half the woman that you are at that age, I would probably be multimillionaire, billionaire by this time.
But you know why?
But I went through the pain so that they can have the platform, so I can serve that purpose on a platform that serves them. So they watched me make those mistakes.
My son?
And... yeah,
he's my stepson, but he's my son.
Yes,
if you don't look, and listen. He's getting sarcastic. He has a great sense of humor. He's just Indian and dark, right? He's almost bigger than me now. He's not tall enough yet. He's almost, though. And what I love about him is the questions he asks.
Yes.
Right?
My son as well.
And someone had told me, I have one of my coaches, he's a former Army pastor, colonel, and we do spiritual and life coaching. Because he says, for free he gave it to me because he wants me to do more for other people. And, you know, he told me something that I probably wouldn't have been very accepting years ago, just a couple years ago. He says, what if you're not meant to do everything you want to do? Maybe it's, and he said it like this, Tom. He said, Tom, maybe it's not your temple to build. Ooh. But maybe I'm training someone to build it, right? And it might not be my children, there's other people, right? But it will get
God
built.
will
It will get
people.
somebody to build, right? And when he said that, I'm okay with that today by far. 2 years ago, no. I would have been like, well, crap, no way, I'm building this thing. And now I'm okay with it because I'm very comfortable in my skin and realizing that what I'm meant to do will happen and maybe other people are meant to do it.
Right. I think when you have a clear understanding of your purpose, you can be at peace with the process.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like...
And you sleep better.
Yes.
When we sleep.
When we sleep. I still work in my sleep. I was working all night in my sleep.
Well, that's why I have to disconnect like a couple hours before and not look at the phone.
Yes.
I have another off-duty phone, but I like Apple News versus Samsung. I went out and got a Samsung flip phone. Reminds me of like 2000 little flip phones, right? But it doesn't have email. Doesn't have anything where people connect me to business. But I don't like Samsung News. I like Apple News. But I am able now to bring my Apple phone upstairs and not look at emails and texts until 7:45 the next morning.
And that's big for people like us that are constantly on our emails, constantly making sure everything, all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted.
You don't look at your email. Someone else does.
Well,
Me too.
Yeah,
I got an email. Hey, Jasmine's on the way. You know.
Oh, they did. Yeah, I've gotten to that point, and I love it. It's okay. I just get the text message of what I need.
Hold on, but you know what? A good use of time.
Yes.
You leverage somebody
your
else,
time.
right? Because there's the next book for you is Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell.
Okay.
And I've actually interacted with probably his bot, but somebody on Instagram, and he gave me his email formula for handling it. It was just a little different because I have multiple boxes. He has one. But I have different ones for different businesses. And so I gave Jeannie the Buy Back Your Time book. I give her the workbook. And I say, read this, and then we're going to implement this PDF of the multiple boxes on how we do it. She's going to implement it with an assistant in 1 month after she's done. So tell me when you're done, and then you got 30 days. So the last week before the time was up, she says, Tom, I don't think I'm going to be able to get this done for you in time. Okay, you know what my reply was? You're going to be really busy doing all my emails then. Because I gave, we got somebody in, and now we're on the fourth person who will stick. Okay? Because people weren't precise and detailed, didn't follow instructions. And you know what? If they're not going to follow instructions, they're never going to follow instructions. You can't train people to follow written instructions. They're either going to do or not.
Absolutely. I have a marketing intern that is filling in for our marketing girl who's on vacation in Egypt.
I'm going there in May.
So she's like no access at all. And the first week we kind of freaked out a bit. But having the new intern replacing her and seeing the smallest details be missed, it's like it's in the small details that matter.
We live and die in the detail, in the margins.
Yes.
It's not the big things.
And it's allowed us to appreciate our main marketing, but we're ready to let her go because it's like I can't spend my time checking flyers for typos when you could have ran that through ChatGPT and make sure that the message was correct. So I completely understand, knowing when someone is not a good fit. And like they say, quick to fire, slow to hire. Not so much slow to hire because you need to keep that pace going, but definitely quick to fire. And even if it's your own children.
Oh, yeah.
You have to be able to separate the emotion from the business.
They're different.
When it comes to protecting your business. But I believe that when it comes to growing your business, it's important to have that emotional piece in a sense of caring about your people enough that if they're going through something, you're there for them.
My team is family. We view it like that. And the hard part is you have to be emotional at one point and not in others, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel that we have a really good nucleus right now, and we've got to the point now where the team says, hey, this person's not a fit for us. So when we just hired my personal admin. I was the last interview. By myself, though, because Jeannie's corporate America, HR, she would friggin' probably cancel, hit the red button on the screen. Because I'm very blunt. I'm going to say, okay, I see your resume. I see all these things. Can you do this?
Yes.
I'm going to find out quick. And if you can't, I'm going to fire you. And you can't say that. And I do, right? And
I warned you.
But, people will lie. And you catch them in a week. Mm-hmm. But you told me you know how to do this. Because I throw people into the fire pretty quick. And one thing I did with Lara quickly was get on a Google Meet and go faster than normal, right? Because she's in the Philippines, and sometimes they have a more submissive attitude, right? Can't have that around me. Mm-hmm. And she's like, whoa, stop! I'm like, that's what I wanted her to do. I wanted to see if she would stop me.
That's right.
I went faster than normal, and I was like, okay, that's a check mark. Good for her. Mm-hmm. Giving her some...
She wants to stop you so that she can understand and ask the right questions.
Right. Some people will say, I got it, and you look at the blank, they don't got it. Yeah. And it's just going to be a problem for somebody else later. And so she was a recommendation hire. What I loved about it was the first week or two, I think it was 2 weeks. They're right outside Manila. They live close. So Nikki, who is considered by me to be a foundation piece in my business, she is a foundational piece. Lara, during the day, went to her house to work. In case she needed help, Nikki was in the room over. They did that on their own, right? So now we just got Lara's PI back. And I can tell you, I didn't need to see it. Everything was for every category. She's a precise person. Well, Jeannie's telling me this. I said, yeah, you already know this. We've seen her work product. Yeah. Okay, because...
That's like a DISC personality test, right? So that would be like
similar.
Analytical, someone that's analytical.
Yep. I didn't have so much belief in that.
Oh, it's important.
Well, I've seen them come back on me way different. I mean, it's if the right one is given to you. Because so my personality trait 6 years ago was called a dictator. My way or the highway. Then it went from that, I became in this format a maverick. And now I'm what's called a venturer, which is pretty much the entrepreneurial, profile. Right. Where maverick can be a little sloppy with details. Now it's once I have my data point met, I make the move. Right. And then if we're going left and it's not working, we alter. I'm just gonna take action and go quick. Once I have the required data. Right. No more emotions.
Exactly. And when you have the right team in place and you've prepared them for the plan, now you can watch it from a 30,000-foot view and you can see all the moving pieces. Where if you are the dictator, you're so involved in every detail and you're controlling every aspect of it, it doesn't give you the time for the creativeness. I'm a very creative person, and I need to have my space to be creative.
But you don't grow your team if you're being the dictator.
That's right.
No one wants to work for you as a dictator.
No.
Okay? And...
They fear you sometimes.
Right.
And you can't have... it's important to have people that respect your work, but not fear you in the sense where they don't feel that they can come and speak to you about certain things, because then they're going to start hiding things.
So we have, just in case that ever was an issue, so when Jeannie meets with everybody, she's the escape valve. If they feel they can't bring something to their boss or me, they go to Jeannie with it. Okay? And that's worked and not worked because people didn't do it at times and we let them go, right? But you could have gone over here. Oh, yeah, but I didn't want to do that. Okay, great. That was the relief valve for you that you didn't use. And, I feel that now, so I look on it as I'm no longer the best player on the court. I'm not the coach. I'm the guy in the box rooting for them now. It's not always my plan anymore, right? It's my vision.
Right.
You guys tell me how we're going to do this now.
That's amazing.
And tomorrow we have our business unit leader meeting. So these are the people who run all the different sub companies. They run a company inside of the organization. I have one item to report on the stoplight, one. That's it. And there's like 40 something. It's all on them now. I just listen. Okay? And that's where problems that are non-emergencies get solved. Because we want all the other business unit leaders to know what's going on because it's a team effort. Look,
Right.
operation builds what the realtors sell. And dealership provides the other services.
That's right.
And, you know, then there's the loan company. And now we're adding setup and title in there, right? So they will sit in this meeting one day. Because that's where problems get solved that are non-emergencies. Okay? An emergency is different.
Right.
But you have to make sure it's actually an emergency because people will love to bring you their emergencies and like, no, that's not a me. So even when, say, somebody wants to get in my calendar, Jeannie's going to ask them 3 questions. That's going to determine whether it's me they're talking to or not. Even internally. Because people will love to bring their problems to us. And I love to say to them, if I'm fixing this for you, why am I paying you? This
Right.
is your job. After a certain amount of time.
And leaders that haven't identified that right there will find themselves going in circles or putting out fires like a firefighter. You can't run your business putting out fires. You know, is everything an emergency? Absolutely not. If you treat everything as an emergency, now you're taking away from the time that you had blocked to do something else. And that's where most people find themselves in trouble. When they're not a master of their time, they're not organized with their priorities, and they allow people to bring them those problems when they already have other people in place for that. So,
But that's getting everybody who sits in those seats to understand that.
yes.
You know, telling people, why are we doing this for so-and-so? Oh, because he forgot to do that. Oh, so his problem is our problem now, right? And they're like, yeah, but no. Why are we fixing his outside the organization, right? So if this is how we do business and he made a mistake, but you want to run and fix it for him, what are you not doing by doing this? Okay?
Yes.
Why are you putting somebody into your account, person who we'll keep the name out of it, right? South Florida, like never showed up to meetings and everything.
Oh, okay.
Why are we putting people in meetings immediately?
Right.
And then when they no-show, you want to reschedule. No. They've showed you how much they value your time.
Right. And they didn't properly communicate what the issues were because life happens. Life is always lifing, you know?
But don't say you're doing something else like family emergency and you're doing listings on Facebook, right? Because we look, right? I mean, I didn't look. Someone said, how could so-and-so be sick when he's doing a Facebook Live at a listing?
Oh, wow. And that's a live. Yeah, I mean, look.
At least if you're going to lie today, be really careful on social media.
For sure.
I caught a project manager, right? So I
everything.
hire this guy to help me build mobile home parks. And the red flag was for him in the beginning how he needed a title. He needed to be the senior project manager. I said, dude, I don't care if you're the head of Oompa Loompa, right? I told him.
Gotta earn.
And but he had another problem that, so the operations manager then was Dominican, and he didn't want to communicate with him for whatever reason, right? But he knew in the beginning that's how it goes. Like, he'll talk to me, you better, I pay you, but you need to communicate with him.
Right.
So then I said, hey, Caesar, schedule a meeting with him for this day over there. And the guy reached out, Mike was his name, to Caesar. I'm not available, but he's a W-2. I know, right?
You're on my time, buddy.
I own you, buddy. He says, this is a hybrid, position and everything. Caesar, have her schedule the meeting. Put my name in it. And that's all we're going to do. Then I go to Facebook, right? I start to look at his wife's page. He's not even in the friggin' state of Florida.
Oh, that's why he wasn't available.
So then I suspended him immediately. Because he didn't make the meeting. Because it was like the next morning, 8 o'clock, right? Because this was like 8 o'clock at night. He can't get back in time. Suspend him, say, don't do anything else. He started to do work. That's what I fired him for. Not all the other stuff.
Because you specifically told him not to.
And the idiot was copying me on the emails he's sending for work. Like, okay, so I suspend you, And now you're doing the work you should have done. He was here for a month.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I just had a similar situation where one of my daughter's admins, she has 5 assistants, and one of the admins didn't do the task that needed to be done. So now Xiomara, who manages the books and is making sure all of our referrals, we do a lot of referrals nationwide. That's where the bulk of our business comes from. And we noticed that a lot of files weren't updated as to what the status was and things like that. So when Xiomara goes in to check the files, she finds about 14 files out of like 60 files that are not how they need to be. So now my daughter and her assistant are blowing up our phones trying to say, we're going to do it. No. You had the time to do it. And now my partner has to take away her time. To do your job. So we're going to get down to the nitty gritty, because that's the problem. When one little problem comes up and we as leaders get in there, we're going to find
everything
the rest.
else, right? I always say, don't make me go look. I'll find them.
Exactly. But that's the thing. It's like, no, now you're not going to try to do the job that you needed to do. We're going to go ahead and figure it out, fix it, and then show you what you didn't do. And now, how are we going to compensate you for the time that we paid you for that you didn't do?
Well, I send people my bill, right? So my lawyer has another lawyer who works there, and there's been a lot of issues. So I get a land trust, the same mistake. She sent me the same document 3 times. The same, no difference. I download each one. There's like 37 pages. I read through 37 pages. I'm like, this is the same blankety blank document. So after the 3rd time, I you know what I did? I said, so you don't value my time. Here's an hour bill. It's for $1,000. I had to speak with him. He had a Christmas party Saturday. He's like, what the hell's this? I said, well, I had to read 37 pages, and it was never changed 3 times. So, I thought it took me longer than an hour. I only billed an hour, right? And he's like, you serious? I said, I should be. But this got your attention because I was sent the same document, no different. Well, how do you know? Look at the documentation number at the top. Every time you make a new copy of it, it adds 1. I know how to do math. The end number is 3. It should have been 3, 4, 5, and then the 6th copy. The first one was bad. The next 3, they're all 3. He didn't even know that that's their documentation numbering. I said, hey, I don't mind billing you for reading this. So let me ask a couple questions here.
Sure.
1, you've had family in your business. You're in America doing all the business. And if you were going to tell somebody how to start their business, you had to give them 1 nugget. What's the nugget?
Separate emotion from business. That's the number 1 nugget. And the reason I say that is because it's what got me in trouble the most.
So you basically godfathered them, right? It's not personal, it's business, right?
Right.
But you're 100% correct. I tell people we donate to charity. We're not the charity.
Yes.
Okay? And that's the analogy of that, because we emotionally invest in people, but we have to remember we still run a business.
Correct.
And when this summer, that almost killed me. I ended up in a hospital with a hypertensive emergency, to where my blood pressure was so bad, they had to give me a shot. Okay? My coach saw my family on vacation without me, and he called me. I take myself to the hospital, and then they have to give me a shot, and they're like, hey, we want to bring you upstairs. Absolutely not, because this hospital dropped my mom that broke her hip, that killed her in the rehab center. So I'm like, no, you killed my mom. We're not going upstairs.
Right.
So then they were like, well, how did you get here? And I know they're not going to let me drive. I said, oh, I Ubered. So I called an Uber. He picked me up. I said, drive around the block real quick, okay? I paid him for the whole trip where I was going home. I put in my address, and then I got back in my truck and I drove home. And the next day, I made a decision to get rid of the people who needed to get rid of, which included my wife, okay? But my coach and I talked, and he was, why don't I see you in the photos? And tell me everything that's going on. And we had just a few minutes, because he was incredibly angry at everything I let happen. Not at me, though, at what happened, because it's family.
The situation.
Yeah. And he says, what I want to do, I want to pause this. I want to come back on this day over here. Okay. What are you going to do? And I said, you know what? I'm going to take a few days off. I'm going to go I have to walk away. He's like, okay. Yeah. And so then when him and I talked before the family came home, he's like, if I was talking to you then, one, your blood pressure would have went crazy, but two, I would have say fire everybody. And, you know, he used the words that, he asked me if I had any bitterment or resentment, because this is my family. And I said, absolutely. He said, you need to put that off to the side because that's the devil. That's not anything else.
Absolutely.
And I needed to hear that at that moment. On top. Hey, everybody. Jasmine Ramirez in Layman Terms Podcast. Thanks for checking in today.
Thank you so much.